being a lifelong Mary-Kate and Ashley addict and being a big Full House fan, I was very, very keen to check out Full House of Horrors. Wasn't really sure what to expect from this, hadn't really heard much about it. It is on YouTube. Having watched it, I can say on the one hand, really not pleased with the treatment of Mary-Kate and Ashley, but on the other hand, I'm very, very impressed with the editing. This is a 7-minute short that was released in, according to IMDb, 2007. I thought it was a little bit later than that. And PETA are trying to get the message across that Mary-Kate and Ashley love wearing fur, and that's wrong. And they're kind of bad-mouthing Mary-Kate and Ashley and basically saying that little Michelle in Full House is one day going to grow up to wear fur. Now, I will say they did get one thing really wrong, and I'll say this before I'm about to talk about the rest of it. Everything about the editing hereafter is very positive. But they referred to Michelle sometimes, and then sometimes they referred to her as the Olsen twins. So they kind of broke the fourth wall when they were talking to the Tanners, and it didn't really work. But aside from that, it is really brilliant. So, to make a long story short, Future Man knocks on the door of the Tanner's house, and whenever we see the Tanners and the Tanner's house, which is the entire thing, it's archived footage. They actually sat through however many hours of Full House footage to pluck out scenes and clips to make this work. And I will say, aside from the costume changes and the fact that the characters are all of a sudden wearing different clothes, it actually works really well. And if you ignore the costume changes, you kind of almost forget the fact that this is not a genuine episode. I think the editing is, given what they had to work with, really exceptional. And the dialogue all made sense, nothing felt that forced, and I'm really genuinely impressed with that. But Future Man knocks on the door of the Tanner house, Michelle answers with a gobsmacked face, little Mary-Kate or Ashley, of course. And Future Man is there to explain to the Tanners that Michelle is one day going to grow up to wear fur. And he makes the family watch these video clips of people like beating animals and, animal abuse, which is horrible. I wasn't expecting that, to be perfectly honest, and it's a little bit, well, it's very moving. It's very effective, put it that way. And then Future Man has this, folder of contemporary at the time pictures of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen wearing fur. And as I said, I don't like the way that he's talking about them. He referred to them as Hairy Kate and Trashly Trollson, and I think that that's really disrespectful because they are, very, very inspiring individuals who work exceptionally hard. Obviously, the wearing of the fur is not something I support. I want to make that very clear. I would never wear fur. I wouldn't touch anything that's made of real fur. But at the same time, I feel like it's unfair to completely... There's one point where he says to the Tanner family, look at what Michelle is going to look like in the 21st century. She's a mess. Or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But I thought that was really horrible, because they're very beautiful. Just because they're wearing fur doesn't mean you get to make fun of the way they look. You can make fun of them for choosing to wear fur, but not for their actual appearance. I think that was a little bit uncalled for. But I did like the fact that they had these 21st century pictures of the Olsens in the same frame as little Michelle Tanner, who was about 4 or 5 years old, depending on which clip it is. And I thought it worked really well. The message is a bit harsh. I'm about to spoil what happens at the end, but they do kick Michelle out of the house, which worked really well, because there's that episode where Michelle decided to run away from home, stay with her friend, and they utilised the clips they had really, really well. I thought the selection they used was very effective. There's a particular scene where, this is the last bit I'll spoil, but there's a scene where Jessie is handing out CDs, which I'm pretty sure are copies of his debut single, but Future Man makes it seem like they're DVD copies of the clips of abusing animals they'd all just had to watch. And I think they worked with the scripts from those episodes really well and made the message very clear. I agree with 99% of the message, and that is don't wear animal fur. I don't agree with the part of the message that is let's make fun of Mary-Kate and Ashley for wearing fur. But as a shock factor, it works. And, you know, it does make me think, oh, okay, well, I'm actually paying attention to what you're saying. And apparently, I did Google it a bit afterwards. It's quite dated now, so I don't even know if they wear fur anymore. Maybe they do, I don't know. But apparently this came about, which is why I think it's a bit older than 2007. Apparently it came about because they designed a backpack for the row made in part from animal fur, which I definitely do not agree with. I don't think that's acceptable at all. And I'm quite surprised that they would do that. I just don't know why anybody would do that, to be perfectly honest. But I don't know if they still wear fur or use fur in the row. I feel like certainly after this they probably didn't. I don't know if any statements were released. I don't know if PETA ever had to apologise for the pretty despicable way they spoke about them. Again, as I said, about the fur wearing, that's fine. But saying that they look a mess or they look like a state or whatever the phrasing they used was, I think is unnecessary and really harsh. But the editing of this, absolutely brilliant. Very, very impressed. I will probably actually watch it again at some point. I apologise if you can hear a car horn that has now just stopped, but that started going on. So on the one hand, really impressive, thoroughly enjoyed it. Definitely gets the message across. On the other, they could have toned back their attitude just a little bit and still delivered the same message. As an Olsen fan, I enjoyed certain aspects of it. As a Full House fan, I had a lot of fun with it and thought it was pretty great. As an Animal fan, yeah, I get the message and I think it works pretty well. I'd say if you're not a Full House fan, you probably won't appreciate this, or certainly if you're not a Mary-Kate and Ashley fan at least. But if you are, definitely check it out. It is still on YouTube, thankfully. And, I mean, I cannot praise the editing enough. I was genuinely impressed. Script needed some work to be a little bit less nasty and horrible. But the message was clear. It worked well enough. Full House of Horrors is definitely something worth discussing.